What's up, family? This your favorite cousin back again with episode 27 of Rich Talks. And I have the pleasure of bringing you today the topic of the fear of death. Yes, the great taboo of death. Number one, why is death feared? To me, death is the one thing that is for certain in life. It's the number one certainty in life, death. People say death and taxes, but for sure, death. So so why is it this great taboo around death? Why is death so feared? Why do we fear death as humans? Honestly, I believe it's because we can't control it. We can't control death. When we die, we can't control that. See, we can control where we live, where we're born. We can control these things, or we can control where we have birth, where someone is born. We can control all these things. We can control every aspect of life as much as possible. But the one thing, thank you. But the one thing we can't control is death. Hold on. You want it? Yeah. You got it. Yeah, no doubt.
If you see me in the streets again, man, I'm gonna get you right. So just holler at the boy. Man, that's blessed. Appreciate you, player.
How you doing, my man? Excuse me, family. Somebody said they liked my hoodie, and something in me just was like, "Hey, you want it?" I took it off my back and gave it to him. But anyways, death is the one thing we can't control. We can control a lot of aspects of life, but we can't control death. And the reason why we can't control death, well, it's other aspects of life we can't control, but the reason why we fear this one thing that we can't control, which is death, is because it's absolute. Meaning when it's done, it's done. Meaning when death happens, it's no coming back. There's no way to retroact that. There's no way to exactly retroact it. It's final. It's done. So why do we fear death? Because I believe either we love this earth realm that we live in too much, or we are scared of the unknown. You see, if you believed in what was in the unknown, if you knew what was in the unknown, and you knew it was going to be beneficial for you, death wouldn't be something that would be so scared. We wouldn't be scared of something called death. On the flip side, because people don't know what's on the other side of death. I'm sorry, on the flip side, because people are so tied into this world that They don't want to let it go. It's like the world is a drug. It's their drug. And they can't let it go. And if they let it go, you know, it's like they lose everything. This is why people will hold out so long to live on this world to escape death. And I know you've seen it before. It's like people do any and everything to stay alive, to escape death. And it's not to stay alive for something productive or to move life forward or to, no. It's because they're scared of the unknown. Is the unknown something to really be scared about? You have cultures who celebrate death, who celebrate the passing. To me, personally, death is like the ending of a book. How do you want your book to end? Do you want it to end pleasantly? Do you want all the stories in your book to be pleasant? Or do you want them to be chaos? Now see, as a child, I got accustomed to the fact that we die. And you say, how? Because I was close to death. Not personally me, per se. I had encounters with death, no. But people close to me, like grandparents, cousins, friends, passed at a younger age when I was at a younger age. So it was drilled into me that death is an occurrence of life. So I got accustomed to the fact that we die. So I was never tied, super tied into this earth that I ever forgot that death is a part of life. So because of that, I ensured that I lived every day to the fullest that I could. And because of that, I ensured that the relationships with people that I was involved in, not saying romantic, just any kind of relationship, but through relationships that I had with people, I ensured that I cherished them. I ensured the way I treated people. I ensured the way I would go about things in my presence was one that if I passed at that very next moment, I would have had a great impact. So I chose to live my life I chose to live my life in the sense of how would I want people to feel about me at my funeral. You see? So I have already wiped away the fear of death. There's no longer a fear of death. The only thing that I fear now is not leaving a positive impact on this earth, not leaving a positive impact on people that surround me. Not saying that I want to die prematurely or before, no, not saying that. But whenever that appointed time comes, I want to ensure that I have made a positive impact. And I believe this should be the fear that people instill in themselves, is the fear of not leaving a positive impact. Not the fact that you will no longer be here, because that's guaranteed. It's just like paying taxes. Don't have the fear that you have to pay taxes because it is guaranteed that you are going to have to pay taxes. You should be in fear that, or the only fear that stems from paying taxes is that you have not properly set your money aside to pay taxes. Simple. It's the same thing with life. You shouldn't necessarily fear death, or you should not fear death. The only thing that you should fear is that you did not live an adequate life. You did not live life to the fullest. You did not leave a positive impact on earth. When people think about you when you leave, what general consensus of a feeling do they get? Do they get happiness or do they get Do they get happy when they think about you, or do they get happy that you're no longer here? What impact do you leave? The fact that death is absolute should give you the reason to live. The reason that death is absolute is the reason why life is meaningful. Because life is meaningless. There's no meaning to life. We come here, we experience, we die. But because we die, and it's absolute, that is the reason, or that is the thing that gives life meaning. Because death is absolute, that's what gives this meaningless life meaning. So because life now has meaning, the meaningless life now has meaning because there's a such thing as death. Now you have to fulfill that requirement. This meaningless life, you have to fulfill the requirement. This meaningless life that has now meaning to it, you have to fulfill the requirement. And the requirement is to live a meaningful life. Now, what is meaningful? Meaningful is however you interpret it. That's the beauty of life. If you find that the meaning of life for you is to play video games, cool. If the meaning for you of life is to help people, cool. It's your personal journey. Nothing is set in stone. It's your personal journey. So I can't sit here and say, someone who says, oh, my meaning in life is to play video games, I can't sit here and say yes or no. All I can say is go down that journey. And once you go down that journey, you may take a left, you may take a right, you may go straight. That may lead you to something else, to something else, to something else, to something else. 5, 10 years later, you may not be playing video games anymore. You might be on to something else. You may be, But all I'm saying is that because death is absolute, now a meaningless life has meaning. And whatever the meaning is of life is up to you. You have some cultures who believe in reincarnation. I believe in things like past lives because the reason why I say that is because energy is never created nor destroyed. It'll always be here. So if the collective of humans, if this energy is always here, it's always being either passed down or carried over, given, taken away. But that energy as a collective is always here. And if your soul, is either a part of that energy, either on this earth or in this universe, however you see, if your soul is one that collects information continuously, and your soul never dies, peep this, your soul never dies, but this life suit does. So your soul goes from one to another, to another, to another, to another, to another, to another. So now, that your soul is collecting information from all these lifetimes, that's why I believe in things that of past lives and reincarnation. Now, is there a point of where it stops after you can transmit, or not transmit, but transmute to a higher plane? Possibly could be. But how do you get there? I would say you have to fulfill your accomplishments, but then, what would that be? And how do you measure that? How does the universe measure that? All that, all that is up for debate. But one thing I do know is that your soul is one that will always collect information, will always continue. There was a study done where they had a body on like a scale or something like that, a Godiva on a scale. And the person was still alive. And they weighed the Godiva, well, the person, the body, when the person was alive, and right after they died. And there was a slight weight decrease. And they attributed that to the person's soul leaving their body. Some people could say this, some people could say something scientific, da 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 da. I'm a spiritual person, so I'm going to believe that it was the soul leaving that vessel. Where does the soul go? Maybe to a newborn baby, maybe to another galaxy, I'm not sure, but to me, I would say it goes to another life form, a baby. Or maybe it floats around the cosmos. I'm not sure. But it will re-enter some way, somehow, some form. Why? Because that soul is a part of energy, which is neither created nor destroyed. You see? So once you know these things, that this is just a human experience, and that your soul lives on forever, your legacy lives on forever, is there a reason to fear death? No. Now the actual act of dying, okay, yes, that could be scary. You know, depending especially on how it's brought about. That could be fearful, that could be scary, yes. The actual, you know, but the general premise on death, no, we should not fear it. It's something that we should embrace, because when we embrace death, like I said, it forces us to live life. It forces us to embrace life when you embrace death. See, a lot of people who don't think about death, they tend to waste time. They tend not to take life seriously. They tend not to take their friendship seriously. But when you know death is something real, you tend to take things more seriously. Notice how when someone has a loved one that may pass, they tend to start taking others around them more seriously. Or someone who has health complications pass, now their loved one will start taking better care of their health. Why? Because they're scared of death. So they bring more meaning to their life now. They take more action in their life now. They take life more seriously now because they fear death. Like I say, death is not something that we should fear. It's something that we should embrace. Because when you embrace death, you get to live life. Because you know that shot clock can go out. It's just like basketball or any sports. When that shot clock goes down and that time keeps going down, 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 and a team is behind maybe a couple points, or the game is tied or the game is close, what happens? The game gets better, don't it? The game gets much better. Now everybody's on the edge of their seats. When the football game hits the fourth quarter, everybody's paying attention. When baseball gets to the seventh inning, everybody pays attention, right? When it's 12 seconds left on that shot clock in basketball in the fourth quarter, everybody's on the edge of their seats. And the game is tied. Why? Because time is running out. That's what's giving them life. That's what's making it exciting. That's the same thing with life. When you know your life has a shot clock, when you know that it is not continuous, when you know that it is an ending to this beginning, you start to take life seriously. So I say, embrace this thing called death. It's not something to be fearful of. I believe it's something to help you, to move you along, to let you accomplish your goals, to let you see the world, to let you love more, to allow more blessings into your life. There's no, I hate the negative connotation that's around death, because death is something beautiful. It's like the ending of a book. Don't you love to get to the ending of the book to see how it was finished? So what if we just continue living? Then there would be no meaning of life. We just continue going and going and going and going and going and going. It's like infinity. Infinity has no number. It has no meaning. That's why I said life now has meaning when there is an ending to it. I was going to speak on something, but it just escaped my mind. Here it is. How death can be something beautiful. Even when you think of the term ego death, right? Alan Watts' favorite term, ego death. When you think about ego death, isn't that beautiful? Why do you say it's beautiful? Because it's a shell that you had is now dying and new life form is being created. Who you were is now passing and the new you is now coming alive. So isn't ego death beautiful? Ego death is only scary to those who are not ready to shed their outer layers, shed who they once were, become something new. That's who's scared of an ego death. But those who know the benefit of an ego death and what's on the other side and the blessings and the beauty that comes with an ego death, they are not scared of it. They appreciate it. They welcome the ego death. Now, I'm not going to say that it's something, I'm not going to say it's always easy. No, it is something that it takes time, and it's something that you have to warm up to, and but an ego death is beautiful. It takes time to let the ego death happen, but are you open to it versus being closed off to it? I think that's the biggest thing. If you're open to it and it takes time, cool. But if you're closed to it and you never know. And this is where you see things like what? Arrested Development. Because these people never allowed what? The ego death. But people who allowed the ego death, these are the people who keep continuously grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. The same thing with death in real life. People who know that there's a death, what do they continue to do? Grow and grow and grow and grow and grow till there's no time left. But people who don't take life seriously, people who don't appreciate death, people who don't even look at death, what do? They stay stagnant, arrested development. They don't grow because they're not fearful, or they're not even conscious of what's could happen. Death sparks new life. Again, death sparks new life. How do you say, how does death spark new life? Okay. When you're in a forest or you see trees or in a field and there's a fire, or people want to fertilize new land, what do? They burn it. They burn the ground, they burn the trees. And now because they've done this, they've done death to these trees. Now they act as new fertilizer for what? New plants, new crops, new trees, new bushes, new things to grow. Because they have now burnt, AKA set death to these bushes. Now these new bushes is now giving new life. Side note, I just saw an 18-wheeler electric truck, like an 18-wheeler, but it's electric. That's kind of cool, but kind of like, whoa. But anyways, back to what I was saying. When they burn down these trees, there is death, but this new death is what? Creating life, because this is acting as new fertilizer. So even in life, when we have people that pass, this now gives us new meaning to life. When you have a loved one that passes, you take life more seriously, right? Life has a new meaning, right? Or even when someone brushes against death, near close calls, what do they say? Oh, now life has a new meaning. Even, watch this, when someone has a child and they say life now has a new meaning. Why does life have a new meaning now when you have a child? Why? Because you have had an ego death, because the who you were has passed before. Who you were before that child was born has gone, is dead. Why do you think people say, oh, I got a child now, I have to be serious? Why? Because that ego death has happened. Isn't that a beautiful thing? That's the simplest form right there. Isn't that a beautiful thing? So the difference between an ego death and an actual death is that the physicality of your life vessel is no longer here, but your soul and spirit is still here. And if you do right by it, it will always be here. I honestly believe some souls go back to people, and when some souls pass, they're so great that it's just shared beyond the masses. And the masses take pieces of that soul in order to help them continue. Because we have people like who are immortal, that even if they are dead, they are not dead. They're immortal. And who are these people? People like Michael Jackson. People who have affected the world so much, that soul cannot go into another vessel. That soul was so great that it has to be shared amongst the masses. That soul was so great that it is still here, it's still present. Only his life suit has left, but that Michael Jackson is still here today. He might not walk around. That soul, like I said, might not go into another form. But that person, Michael Jackson, that was doing the moon, is still here today. That soul is still here today. I believe if you have a great enough impact on the masses, your soul can be so great where it cannot go into just another human. So it goes back to what I stated in the beginning. How about your soul, and if it goes into another vessel or what happens? I believe that our mission here is that we help one another, that we love one another. And if you accomplish that to its fulfillment, your soul will be so great that once you pass, the people who are involved, you were involved with, or was involved with you, or you had a helping hand in, take pieces of that. And that soul can no longer go into another vessel. And if you did not have that much of an impact, or if your mission was not complete, then you have to go into another vessel. That's my theory. Am I right or wrong? Like I said, that's my theory. Why do you see babies who act like grandparents who passed already? And they say, you act just like. Coincidence? Maybe that soul wasn't finished. And they needed another. We've seen it before. We've heard it before. Oh, the baby act just like uncle. Or the baby act just like grandpa. Or the baby act just like grandma. Or the great baby act just like. And they were never, on this planet at the same time. But how do they act just like them? It's that soul. It's that soul. That soul wasn't finished. So either the universe knows when the soul is finished and can't enter in another body, or that soul knows. But at the end of the day, how I live and how I think doesn't matter. I say it again, doesn't matter. To me, I say, no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if your soul would be big enough or this or that, where it goes. It doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, you have to live life. That's what's in front of us now. That's the task at hand now, is to live life. And not be worried about where your soul goes and this and that. So like I said, death is not something to be feared. It's something to be embraced. Because when you embrace it and you understand it and you know it, now you know that you have a limited amount of time and that life is something precious. All right. This is episode 27 of Rich Talks. Great talk. Something deep, somewhat deep. All depends on who's listening. Something kind of sketchy for some people. But I hope people listen to it and embrace the conversation and, it opens their eyes. Like I said, this is philosophy. This is thinking. So it's neither right nor wrong. It's how do you view and your perspective, and is it something that you can align with that can help you move forward in life? Hope this helps somebody today. It's your favorite cousin. Y'all be safe. Love and blessings.